Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, as I covered about energy fields, I want to go over the actual movement of a pendulum. And the whole subject of radiesthesia, what a word, which I believe is French, dowsing, use of pendulums, etc., is very, very critical and has been used for hundreds of years now, very successfully. And there's a huge amount of literature on this as well, where you can read to familiarize yourself. If you want to get into all the details, where real radioesthesia talks about the rays, the energies, etc. It's quite a complicated and interesting area, and talks about the energies that emanate, which is important for someone who wants to understand force energy fields. And we have just recently reprinted a classic text from the early 30s that's available online for only $1. So do go to our PDF and note that book that is just published there, and you can download it, get it instantly for only $1. And this is a very classic text by, what is it, Pierre? I forget the person's name, but this is one of those that's always sought after and difficult to obtain and expensive. You don't have to worry about that. So do check that out. We also have a book of free pages and everything else. Make sure you go to our website at the upper top of this channel. You'll see a link to the website, and do check out those free items, as well as very low cost. So getting back to the importance of it. So this has been used, pendulums, as I mostly use them for, is for detecting energies, which I am a master and an expert at, and have been for over 30 years. So it's very important. But pendulums can be used to project energy and do so many things. So that's for my pendulum course, which will be coming out soon. But all of those who want to use their instruments, any kind of manifesting tool, you've got to get some information from there. How strong is the field? How is it working? Should you continue using a particular manifesting radionic machine? Or has it done its job and you don't have to do it any longer? So all of this is very important to the process. So no matter what you're doing, you have to learn and build your pendulum skills up so you can get a feedback. There are no meters to detect these energies at this time, mostly because of the fact that there's no money. But also the fact is you can't reproduce the amazing human energetic system, which is connected not only to this earth, but to cosmic energies. For some bizarre reason, human beings, with all their flaws and problems and everything else, are empowered to unbelievably high levels. And why is this? Well, that's a good question of why this is. So it's kind of mysterious. Why are we able to manipulate energies the way we do and so forth? But this is how the cosmic works. So the whole idea is that the cosmos, the universe, is basically one giant manifesting energy form, and you're part of that. So it means you yourself can make changes in your life and in your environment and everything else. You can be a creator and a destroyer. It's very interesting, and everything on this earth has this empowerment to it. And those that are able to function at higher levels, because they have hands and feet, are able to do just about anything. I mean, look what we've created as a species. We have, of course, excelled at the evil human capacities, so we can destroy the earth many, many times. How nice. We can blow up the sandbox we live in because we've spent all that energy there. We can't kill nobody. So the whole idea is this is quite fascinating and goes into other subjects we won't get into. But this is very, very critical. Now, here's one of these great pendulum holders here. You can get these pretty much anywhere. eBay, Amazonian, Etsy, wherever you want to go. And you can see how these hold your pendulums without them getting tangled and everything else. So it's really nice, and it looks really pretty. That's kind of nice to put on your desk or in an area that's prominent. So anytime you need to get a pendulum, you can go grab one, and you should be using these all the time. I carry a pendulum with me when I go any place in case I need to check something. You can check things if you're food stores, if you're allergic to it, check if the energy is good. I mean, there's endless uses, and you should make this part of your life. This is a way to detect, quote, occult or hidden energies that you can do with a simple, inexpensive, and powerful tool to find out if something is good in general. Is it toxic? Is it good for you? All the things that go with that is part of the critical aspects that you need in your life. So make the pendulum your buddy. Have lots of them, try different things. What's interesting is checking energy fields, and you have to find out what works for you, but and let me get my favorite my favorite pendulum here that I use as well. And we'll talk about all these things basically. But I wanted to really get into the movement of the pendulum. Now, all these different books on dowsing and everything else, they all have their own little techniques. And how does it spin? How does it doesn't spin? Well, I've done 55 years of research. I am the expert in this field. And if you follow fools, you become a fool. So follow the experts. Follow someone like me who knows what's going on and has done it for many, many years. Don't follow the stooges out there that know nothing and really haven't done anything of any extent. So I have actually done everything, designed, manufactured, been in business for over 40 years and been very successful. So find the people that are successful and follow them, and you will be successful too. And I can't really give credit to anybody else, even though there are probably a few good people out there. 5 maybe? But the bottom line is that, what works for somebody else doesn't necessarily work for you. But there still is a standardization to understand of how to use pendulums that we're going to go over here. Now, most pendulum works that you read in books talk about things that go back and forth. This way or this way. And some charts have like a half circle here, and you hold it here, and it's supposed to then go to a particular reading or stuff by moving this way. But pendulum charts can be very tricky, and how do you know if that's correct or not if it's a whole half circle with all sorts of things in here? Let's say it's an herbal chart. Well, it's very hard to get it exactly like that. So it's really a bad way of doing things. Now, as I said, I'm going to give you a brief introduction here. All the details will be in my pendulum course, which is part of the Great Path that is coming out very soon. So when you're checking energy fields, and I check energy fields all the time, we'll offer a free service to check your energy fields. These are not a psychic reading. This is not about your love life, what's going to happen to you in a few. No, we're checking the really critical things in your life, and that is, what are the energy fields around you? Are they positive or negative? If you have negative energy fields around you and you are crossed, blocked, etc., well, this is the problem. There's really trying to second guess that things are going to go better for you, or you're going to be given a deal or something, or whatever goes on in your life is kind of a little bit ridiculous. What are your energy fields? We check this. What is your level of manifesting? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how easy can you manifest? On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your health reading? And this is not what you're feeling right now, but in general, is your health energies at a decent level, low, or whatever. So this is important to know, and we go down a whole checklist. We check your past lives, we check for alien implants, and we go through, we check for vibrational and physical parasites and viruses, all these type of things. We check these energy signatures. This is all done for free. All you have to do is go to our website and request it, upload a photograph so that we can do it, and we'll get back to you with that free reading. Another great service we offer, and this is great research for me as well, because I get to find out how, as a general group of people, what is the energies going around at the time. And, 3-4 years ago, people were a lot less negative. They were, everybody is crossed because it's just life makes you cross. Life is negative. So most people were in the level of 2 crossed, or second stage crossing, which is common and a little bit dangerous. Now everybody's at the 3rd level, the highest level of crossing. It's very rare to find anybody who's not at level 3. So that's important. So, so everybody's messed up. Everybody's under direct or indirect attack, whether it's just society that's just being negative, or you've got actual people who envy you and hate you, family, friends, or somebody is attacking you directly for one reason or another. So all of these affect your energy fields. And how do we measure these fields and so forth? Well, a lot of this comes from years of practice, research, and bringing up your sensitivity factors. And how do you do that? Well, there is no machine, and I don't believe in machines when we're talking about complicated informational energetic fields that are being checked. No machine can do that except the human machine, and you have to be in control of it. So if you're somehow rigging the results, getting the results that you want, I believe this is true, and then you make it true with your pendulum. This is the kind of amateur stuff that makes you a bozo. So professionals don't do that. They get the pure facts of the situation. Plain and simplicity. So this is all part of being a professional. And this is something you have to work on, and you have to disconnect yourself from the answer. But you need your billions, trillions, or how many miles of nerves and bioenergies and your chakras and your all of these energies. And there are huge amounts of different bioenergies within the body system. We talk about chakras in the third eyes because this is pretty common to people that they know about this. But that's only a small percentage of what's there. And there's all sorts of, quote, cosmic or outside energies that you draw to you and affect what you're doing. So it's a complicated subject matter. But checking energy fields is very critical. You want to be able to get basically what is a yes and no question, but you also want to be able to find out how strong that is, how it works. Now, all of these people that are talking about back and forth, up and down, left and right, well, you know, if you want to use that kind of a chart and it's something you like, but I don't recommend it because it doesn't give you enough information. The bottom line is the best way to do everything is using the spin method, meaning clockwise is good or yes, counterclockwise is bad and negative. And then there is the neutral spin, which is back and forth. Neutral would be like this, which means it's undecided, unsure, things are in the works. We don't know, it could go either way. Now, why do we want to do that? Well, here's a little chart of clockwise and counterclockwise that I have here. And what's interesting is that when you test someone, now, you can use muscle testing on people, and how do you do that? Well, one of the ways to muscle test someone is you take a clockwise spin like this. Usually, you go into kind of a circle here. Now, clockwise is just like a clock, and you make many, not just a simple graph like this, but a spiral going clockwise. Then you make one going counterclockwise. Okay? So you have that. Let's see if I can have a little, I have a pen sitting around here. So this would be clockwise, and this would be counterclockwise. So in my machines, you can build, they have graphs of these where you can print out, and I'll probably put these online so people can print their own out. But if you take a clockwise spin like this by itself and place this against a person's chest, and then you give them a muscle testing, you will find that their arm is strong. Okay, you can't move that arm down. If you put this, and you can try all this, it's mind-boggling to people. I usually, if I do this with a group, I pick the biggest, strongest guy I can, gym rat type. This is counterclockwise. You take this, and you have the person hold it against their solar plexus with their left hand, and then their right hand is sticking out from their side, and you can press that hand down like it's a feather, and there's nothing they can do about it, regardless of how physically fit they are. Meaning what? That negative is bad, weakens you, bad. Ooh, goo, goo, goo. Right is good, make you feel good. Ooh, isn't that nice? Okay? So there is no controversy of what these spins mean and how one is empowering and one is weakening. I like to keep things straightforward, simple, and effective. Getting into this complicated pendulum dowsing work and these pseudo-intellectuals who want to make everything and talk about the waves and radiation. Well, if you really want to get into all that stuff, you certainly can. It is a fascinating study. But for the purposes of what we're doing, checking particularly energy fields, for that matter, anything. But, again, we're not doing things that are psychic based of your reality, what's your love life, you're going to meet people. We're checking energy fields here. What are the trends around you? So very, very important. So with that, we then want to use our pendulum in the same way. So when you're testing something, you want to ask, and I've done this on camera many times when we test particularly radionic tools made by other people, is the energy this tool is putting out positive, negative, counterclockwise, or neutral, meaning it just doesn't do anything. And a lot of radionic machines come out neutral. They're just neutral, and which may not be bad for a machine that has not been tuned. So neutral doesn't necessarily mean bad. It also doesn't mean good. It means that it is just that, neutral. But this defines things. Now let's talk about the swing of pendulums again here and why having circle spins is so important. Now, one of the problems with pendulums that if it's back and forth, I guess you can kind of judge the strength of something. But it's very difficult to get something to really move, to detect it to that level when it's back and forth. Not when it's a spin. Now, the way to check the intensity of the energy, how strong is it, what's going on, you tell by the spin. A lot of spins, particularly when you're tuning radionic instruments, are like this. Just a simple little spin. But if you're testing something that is really toxic or really positive, you can get this, what I call the helicopter thing. And I've had certain things that do that. It starts to spin like this. Now, there's no arguing that means there's an intensive energy there. How do you judge the intensity of back and forth? Well, again, how much? But I mean, that is very subjective. We're looking for non-subjective information. We want black and white here as best as we can. So that's what's so great about doing the spin. Now, I've tested hundreds of, probably thousands of objects, and I've never found any object that is toxic that will spin clockwise. You can test all sorts of things, cleaning materials, toxins, poisons. They all spin counterclockwise. And vice versa. Anything that's positive, anything that is herbal or good for you or pure or empowering or has good energy in it will spin clockwise. Okay? Never has that ever failed. Plain and simple. So it is important to understand that. So that's how you test things. It's very simple, very easy, and it's not complicated to figure out what does all this mean. And then you can check the intensity, which is important. So is this something that is working at a high level? Is working at a low level? And by watching the spin, you can see the kind of energies that it is being generated there in testing. So when you have a radionic machine, you are going to ask it certain questions. Should I keep the same rate on here? Should I change the rate disc? Should I change the numbers on the machine if you have one? And you need to get that yes or no. How effective is this working? Now, you want to break things down specifically, again, to a certain extent. So you give it a scale. Usually it's 1 to 10, or I'm going down to 1 to 5 now. And you ask the pendulum, be specific. At what level is this working? And then you go through the numbers. Is it working at a level 1? Is it working at a level 2? Is it working at a level 3? And if that's correct, it will start spinning yes. This is a way to judge the intensity. Very important. I do this when I just mentioned here of testing someone's manifesting abilities. Where are they on the manifesting scale? Your average person's a 5 to 6. If you're higher than that, it means you're a great manifester. If you're lower than that, it means you're blocked. Same thing with your well-being energies. How is your well-being energies? How is your ability to manifest health? And you do the same thing. Is it a 1? Is it a 2? And where do people sit? As you said, over the years, I've compiled quite a little record of the averages that people are running at, and I see how this has changed with the negativity of their environment. So it's as simple as that. And as you said, you shouldn't be listening to unqualified people that basically don't know what they're talking about or have been trained poorly. I've been trained for, as I've said, about 55 years now. I've been trained, starting from basically 10 years old and even probably before that, investigating all these areas. And for the last 35 to 40 years, I've been full-time involved in metaphysical, energetic research and producing engineering products, testing them, doing research, etc. Really, I'm the only one in the industry that has done this to any great extent. And people don't have the contact with the public. I was the first one to ever have a radionic retail store. I've written over 35 books, etc. So I am the authority in the world in all of this. And you have to understand that. And I've worked these systems down to the best possible way of doing everything, particularly for the individual. Now, if you have some system that works better for you, well, you should always do that. But we have to have some understanding of what's going on. You should be able to get the clockwise or counterclockwise spin as part of your pendulum work. If you're not doing that, you're robbing yourself of very important information and detection. So it's very important that you detect things properly and know what's going on. Now, the type of pendulums, we're moving away from, these are a collection I've had for a while. You can see this is multi-metals. These are metals. This is a large, cool claw, plastic pendulum. Here's your stones. And here's my favorite that seems to get the best results. And this changes over time as well in what you're doing. Surprisingly enough, because we're not dealing with the electromagnetic here unless you're checking electromagnetic. And then if you are, you want to use something that's more metal. This is one of our favorite ones for radionics because it has a ball here, which is very important. Now, this is metal again, which we're moving away from, but this is an excellent pendulum that works very well. But one of my favorites, which I've been using for years, is this little plastic round ball. Now, it does seem that round pendulums work the best. You would say you want points and things like this up here. Well, not really. This is the pointing energy is not really doing all that much. What you want to have is more surface area to pick it up. That's what a ball does. So a ball is able to pick up the energies no matter how that form comes in, while something that's pointy has to go up in a particular way. And here's another great one that's made from beads. I'm not sure if these are glass beads. I think they are plastic. It's a very rare one that's no longer made. But this basically, and I put this on a stand here, and I've had this actual use here. Let's take this off because we don't plug anything in anymore. But we used to plug these into radionic machines and everything else, and that go with that. What I did with this particular block here, take that off, is I put this stand on it. The feet, I put a copper plate at the bottom for that kind of conduction of energies, which is quite interesting when we are getting into that particular field of detection. And what's interesting about this, it has yes, no on it. And of course, let me pull this off. Is this glued? Let me see. I think I re-glued this. And underneath it, it has buy and sell. And I'm not going to pull it apart right here because I don't really use the buy and sell. But here again is that spin I was taught, the actual movement of the pendulum if you're not doing a spin. So no is back and forth like this. And this is a very traditional way of doing things. As I just mentioned, it's inferior than doing it the way I do it with a spin. And of course, yes is like this. So I don't use that either. I use a spin. This is a, this sits in here like this, which is nice to hold the pendulum. This is what is called a Kreskin crystal. This came out in the middle 70s, made by the 3M Corporation. This is nice, beautiful lucite. These can be found. These are very vintage. They go back now 50, 60 years and are getting up there in price. Generally, you find these anywhere from $35 up to $80 or $90 if you want to get a cube like this. And these are kind of nice to have on your desk. You've got the yes and no. You could use that to buy and sell underneath it. And of course, what's nice is you don't need a big holder like this. You just place the ball in there. But as I said, I like that pendulum. It's very accurate to use a ball. And it does seem that plastic, as I've mentioned before, is much better for this kind of energy. Now, plastic is not a conductor. That's why electric wires are insulated with plastic. So it is, but you're not picking up those energies. And to a large extent, you don't want to pick up electromagnetic energies because that's not the field you're looking at. Here's another one from Kreskin, which is the claw. And this is heavily weighted and big, but it's all plastic. I think there's some metal inside there to weight it down. So those are things we have to keep in mind of what's happening. This is a cool, nice little tool to have. And as I said, you can just place this on your desk. Something that you can have out there. It looks cool, and you could use it to test it all the time. The whole idea is to do this constantly throughout the day. Grab something, test it, do it for a few, literally probably less than a minute, and then stop and move on to something else. The whole idea is to do things often, short periods of time with high intensity. The minute you get bored, everything turns off. So that's the basic understanding of how to use pendulums the correct way. Now, as I said, there's lots of books out there and everything else, but get a good method down that works, that's effective, that's tried and true, and then move on to other things. So it's really, as I said, the clockwise spin, which when placed against the human biofield, empowers it, and a counterclockwise spin will disempower you. Comprende? And of course, neutral means something is not right. There's no energy there, or there's a decision yet to be made, or we're kind of unsure. Those are the movements you have. You can do that with basically any type of pendulum you like. And, most likely you're going to need several types of pendulums. The metals, the different things, the plastic, the balls, all these things are what you should collect. It's pretty hard to find ball pendulums, actually, anymore. But once you get the basics down, then you're pretty much set. But it is important to do it that way so you can measure the intensity, the actual spin. And what you do is when you're measuring something, instead of going by a chart that you're moving it on, like a half moon chart with things like this and that, that's, as I said, that's very difficult to do. What you do on a chart, and I don't really have any right with me, is that you put your left hand, energy flows through the left and out the right regardless of your dominant hand, is that you put your left finger on whatever it is. So let's say it was a listing of herbs, and you say, well, do I need echinacea? And you put your finger on it, and then you ask yes or no. And the bottom line, it will tell you, counterclockwise, no, you don't need echinacea. Okay, do you need this herb? No. You need this herb? Yes. So, and you can do that with vitamins and everything else. And there's all sorts of ways of testing dosages of vitamins and everything else, which I've done in the past, but I'm going to do another little video on it as well. But that's the reality of it. Stay with that and you'll have great success. It's very measurable. It looks good in terms of your brain understands circles better. It goes with the flow of energies. All of that's very, very important. So if you're doing the back and forth stuff like this, no, yes, so the pendulum's going up and down or this and that. Well, this is something that I don't recommend, but is the classic way of doing it. But as I said, you're limited. If you want to judge something's energetic form, well, how yes is it? Is it just a tiny little yes? Does it spin just a little bit, or is it big? I've tested this stuff, and we've shown this with the toxic materials such as orgone, orgonite garbage out there, put together by the well-known Satanist, now dead boy, Carl Weltz, puts out enormously negative energy. And this can be tested and seen. So instead of just getting a yes or no, when you have a spin, you can see that. And this orgonite garbage really has an intensive negative spin to it. So that's very important. And this is why you test something. Is this a good tool? Is this a good product in general? The first thing I always do is ask it, is this positive, negative, or neutral? And I test machines like this. And you can see this through the channel here with the different machines that I test. It's the first thing you do. So instead of just getting a yes and no, I like to see the intensity of it. So as I've stated, some things are super intensive. I did this with a particular type of machine years ago, and this is before you even turn them on if they're electric, and it spun counterclockwise, meaning that it wasn't a good machine. And when I turned the electricity on, the thing spun like a helicopter. See how you get that? Counterclockwise again, meaning it was a really negative piece of junk. So this is how you check everything to begin with. In the same way you check if something is going in your body. You would hold the item. Let's say it's a supplement. Let's say this is a supplement. You hold and say, is this good for me? And you're going to get either yes or no. The same thing you do with everything. And you can do this in a descriptive manner as well. Maybe the tool is okay. Is it good for you? Well, you have to ask that specifically. But most things out there that are built today, particularly anybody messing with orgone, is producing very negative tools that will hurt you. Doesn't necessarily knock you down today or next week, but the months go on, the years go on, and you've destroyed your energy system, which the orgonite is sitting there eating away at, infecting you with devil energies, as Carl Weltz was, a big-time satanic practitioner. So we have to look at all that stuff and understand what's going on. You need to check that, because there's a lot of delusional New Agers who are basically selling toxic stuff. And there's a lot of con men out there that are just tricking you, and they want to infect you with evil energy because they want to vampire you, and they sell you garbage out there connected to evil energies, which is so common out in this day and age, because the radionic industry in general is all ran by Satanists, almost down to everyone involved with it is either negative or evil as of the point. Now, I'm sure there's some people out there, but certainly the popular ones are not. None of the ones that are well known. All of the industries, all the association are all very bad groups, unfortunately. But that's the nature of it. You got a powerful technology. Who's going to use it? Well, the Satanists figured out that radionics was so powerful that they changed over all their magical practices to radionics. And of course, the people that are involved in all the control, negative practices, domination, are going to use these kind of energies because they are so powerful. But they don't really understand it, so while they're trying to do that, they have terrible equipment, and they can't really handle these energetic fields very well. And they produce junk, and they don't get good results. But, that's the nature of all of these types of practices, and including using practical magical techniques as well. Most people can't get very good effects with it. So you have to understand that as well. So hopefully this makes everything clear. Make sure you follow this routine. Make sure that's how you check everything. Don't let other information from ignorant, buffoonish fools guide you away from the path that really works, that's been researched by the foremost expert on the planet for the last 40 years, myself, who has done practical research, who gets feedback from customers, from every place I can possibly get it, and the only person really keeping these kind of records. What results did you get? What worked for you? What not? This includes when I was heavily involved in magic and as I moved into radionics. So this is very important that you have a credible person out there that's trying to perfect and make products better instead of just selling you something. Contact me for the latest price. I'm a gym teacher. So the whole idea is these are the kind of bozos that are in this industry that are stealing your money and leading you down the path to hell. And remember, people, there is no reality until the manifesting scientist creates it. Until next time.